Welcome to the Purpose of Our Mom Show, episode 417. Today, we have a very fun kind of behind the scenes type of an episode for you. This last cohort in the Purpose of Our Mom Club, I offered up bonus coaching calls. This bonus call was open to all club members, and it was an AMA, Ask Me Anything, where you can get on and ask me absolutely anything, from business to time blocking and more. And we had a couple really meaty, great questions that I just thought you might want the answers to. Our first question comes from Anna Marie, and it was like, how many time blocks is too many, right? I talk about this a little bit in the episode, but Anna Marie travels with her husband full time. So their schedules are always different. How many is too many? So I answered that one, and she wasn't able to get on, so I was still able to answer it without coaching. And our second one came from a club member, Shay, who was on, so we were able to get a little coaching, and she talked about journaling. We talked about journaling and tracking, and how do you make it a habit, and how do you take something that is important to using when it comes to your goals as a tool that you haven't been doing and incorporate it in. So inside this episode, it is incredibly informal. I don't even think I had my podcast mic plugged in. We are going to hang out in a coaching call at the Purpose Driven Mom Club. If you want to learn more about the club, you can go to purposedrivenmom.com/club. We have an application over there that you can fill out and a wait list to sign up for, because we will be opening up again in 5 weeks, about a month. So you're going to want to make sure you get on that list, and please fill out an application. We often will have scholarship opportunities for people who fill out the application or early admission, and we want you to make sure you don't miss out. So I hope you enjoy this. If you like, this style of coaching, if you like this style of support, come over to the Purpose Driven Mom Club the next time we open. But for now, enjoy. Let's talk a little bit about time blocking, tracking, journaling. And again, super informal. It's kind of how we hang here at the club. I know sometimes club members will be like a little intimidated to get on the calls, but we're just casual and we're hanging out and we're coaching you to really reach your full potential when it comes to your time, your goals, and your productivity. Show notes are going to be over at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 417. Let me get to my next question here. All right, I think it was Anna Marie's, and I think she's mentioned to me she wasn't going to be able to get on. So let me just check and see. Yeah, she's not here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wait, Anna Marie, is that you on here? Otherwise, I'm going to check it out. All right, question. I just finished the Trello bonus. And will it be too much to have 4 ideal time blocks? I think this is a great question that kind of piggybacks on Laura's. We travel for work, so our schedules are constantly changing. I'm thinking I'd have a normal one when they're home, on the road, and a bare minimum. I do not think that is nuts. I think that is actually a really smart idea. If anyone has seen the video, the when the poop hits the fan, this is essentially what I'm talking about, this concept. And it came up for me too during the pandemic. I would share, like, every day, like, I didn't know what to expect. Right? When kids were permitted to go back to schools, I would get a phone call. One kid's home. One kid has to stay home. They have to stay home for this many days. This one can go to school. They can't go to, like, it was just, there were so many variables, and I found myself getting super frustrated. And so I made maybe even more than 4 scenarios. Now, it's really funny. Has anyone seen Inside Out 2 yet? We went and saw it yesterday. It was really cute. But in it, it talked about, like, the anxiety is like the new emotion. And anxiety sends all the different scenarios to the brain of what could possibly go wrong. And so I was like, is this an anxiety thing? But I think it's a planning thing, because it allowed me to just say, I don't know what's going to happen, but let me see if I can get ahead of it a little bit. So I don't think that's a bad idea, especially if you're traveling. I would definitely have, let me see the options she said. Yes, travel day, kids home, bare minimum. Yes. And I recommend a bare minimum day for everyone, no matter what, because life happens. We were just coaching through with somebody else. Oh, I remember, on a Friday call. And we were talking about that bare minimum day when it comes to health. I know that we have a lot of people here who struggle with, like, some chronic health things. I recommend you make your bare minimum day for when you're not feeling good, and you make a bare minimum day after. I think we forget about this one. If you have a day where you're really sick, right, and you're not feeling well, we do migraines and things like that, or you're physically can't do it. And anyone who's been here a while knows that, like, I went through some chronic stuff last year where it wasn't just the day that was hard, it was the next day. And what was hard about the next day was that I was trying to get back, quote, on track from the day before. And so I already felt behind, and then I was feeling super scrambled. And so I also recommend you make a bare minimum day, like, I'm sick, kids are sick, it is what it is day. And then, well, what do I do on the next day to slowly ramp myself back up? Because we want to just go all in, don't we? We want to just do it all. And that sets us up for failure too, because that just makes us exhausted and it's not realistic. And so I do not think it's overkill. I think that was kind of her question to say, oh, I'm going to make all these options. The only caution would be if you find yourself sitting there and making options and not getting started. So if you're like, I can't move forward until I've made all 7 versions of what could potentially happen, that's where I'm going to pause you, right? So I would say start with 1 and go from there. But the fact that they travel full time, they need to have travel days look different than not travel days. So no, I don't think it is too much, but you do need to catch yourself if you get stuck in the planning paralysis of like, well, I can't move forward until I've planned every scenario, while also remembering you can't control what's actually going to happen. You don't know what's actually going to happen, and you need to give yourself grace and be flexible. But the reason I like these bare minimum when the poop hits the fan thingies is because on those days where, oh, I thought I was going to have this day and then it turned out I can't get things done or whatever it is, it's easy for our brain to say, oh, well, I guess I won't do it. Like, oh, well, I guess I just won't do anything. And, Laura asked me about lunch, right? On those days, my like when the poop hits the fan days, I have to write down eat lunch is my micro 1. Because as long as we all just eat lunch, I'm happy. Like that's really sometimes all it is. And I think that's important to recognize too. Sometimes like, can I get a shower today? That feels great. And sometimes shower isn't the option and that's not what I care about, right? Those are all okay things. And the reason I suggest pre-planning them is because when we're in this fight, flight, or freeze place and our brains cannot get out of it, we are not in decision-making mode. We are in reactive mode. So I like to do it when my brain is in a good space to be proactive, to be like, all right, I can definitely do this. Yes, exactly, Sarah. And then a lot of times we make these bare minimum plans and we just do a little more, right? You like just do a little more. Like I didn't say I was going to sweep today, but like I'm standing here, so I'm going to sweep and I'm going to celebrate that. And that's totally a good mindset switch. So I know Anna Marie wasn't said she couldn't be on, but if you go back to the recording, you can kind of read through those ones. All right, I think I saw Shay on. Yes, okay, Shay, I have your question next. Let me know if you want to unmute and just talk it out like I did with Laura, or I can just read it and give you my thoughts like I did with Anna Marie's because she couldn't be here.
I'm here, so that's fine.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll read it and then we'll kind of get personalized as we go through. This is a good one. How to use daily journaling for tracking and monitoring progress. What does that look like? And the review process. Okay, so tell me first, what does it look like for you now? Do you have any sort of tracking routines or systems?
The only one I have is in the mornings is I started to note like wins on the work days.
Okay, cool.
Part of my startup is that I'll note those.
I like that. Have you thought about what you want it to look like? Like what would an ideal like journaling or tracking be for you?
I really haven't. I only was even mildly interested in it because you said it was supposed to be helpful for improving goals and figure out why you're not succeeding at goals. But I don't really, I'm like you, I don't necessarily like to write them out, but then I'm probably better off to type them in part of my morning routine or something like that.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you some systems that I have that work and give some tips, and then you kind of pull out what you think vibes with you. Because there's some people that love to physically like journal and write. And like you said, I'm not that person. But I type my journal. I have it's like a Word doc, and I use just the outline feature to like put the questions and stuff, because that just works a little bit better for me. So there's 2 things here, right? There's journaling and then there's tracking our goals. Now, journaling can have multiple purposes. It can help track your goals, but it could also be for different reasons. So I want to talk just tracking the goals first, and then we'll get to different journal things. I think it is really important to have a system for tracking goals. And I go back and forth with when I do it. So the first question you want to ask yourself is like, when is a good time for me to do it? Here's my journey through tracking, okay? While I was trying to get it to become a habit, I tracked very frequently. I used to like try to wait to the end of the day, and that wasn't happening for me. So what I did first was I put timers. You have heard me. I'll talk till I'm blue in the face about timers. Multiple, like, let me show you guys my phone. Multiple timers in my phone. And they're all just like labeled different things. Like I just have so many, like you can scroll through. I label them different things. So one thing that you could do is if you're tracking goals, let's use water as an example, because that's like one that happens all throughout the day. You could put multiple timers on your phone that literally say track your water. And it'll be that trigger point and that reminder, I'm going to go track my water. I like that in the beginning because it's more frequent. If we get to the end of the day, we don't have to do it. That for me then transitioned into I do it once a day. Now, I used to think the only way to do it was at the end of the day because, quote, of course, it's the end of the day. I need to track. And that wasn't always working for me. So for a while, I was walking on the treadmill. I moved it to the mornings. So while I walked on the treadmill, I just tracked the night before, the day before. It's not that far out that I'm going to forget everything. Well, now I'm not doing that anymore. So I needed to move. So I noticed I wasn't tracking because I wasn't walking on the treadmill. Like that habit left me. So now I moved my tracking to the night before again. And it works for me. So the first thing you're going to have to figure out is like, when do you want to do this so that it creates kind of the consistent habit? Because the goal is one thing, tracking it is a secondary goal within that. Okay. So think through like when you want it to happen, what frequency. And I'm a big believer on more in the beginning, and then slowly scaffolding it back. And then you want to think through like how. So there's a few things you can do. This is where you could say, hey, I'm going to do a journal like you're doing, right? Like a win from work. We talk about the to-do list. You can talk about a gratitude journal. Like you can have all of those anecdotal, more feelings-based track journaling that you do at the end of the day. You could have it as your transition activity in between each time block. Like what's something I did that I'm proud of for these past 3 hours or something like that, you know? And also I do recommend a more practical completion tracking, right? Like, did I do the thing? So let me show you what mine look like. I think I still have my, yep. Okay. So this is what my tracking currently is for a few things. Okay. So what I do is at the end of every time block, I keep these tabs up pretty much all day because I'm here. So at the end of every time block, I come into this one here that I showed y'all where it has my micro 3. You can see how today, yeah, this is today, how today is Monday and I already have things crossed off because at the end of every time block, I head in here and I cross things off. I don't wait to the end of the day because like I just mentioned, I forget what I'm supposed to be doing or what I said I was going to do. So once my 9 o'clock time block hit, I came in here and I was like, oh, and like, I'll tell you what, I did not unload the dishes between 6 and 9. It just happened before I came in here. So I knew that was still on my list. So I was able to get it done. At the end of this time block, I came in here and I did that. At the end of this time block, I'm going to do the same thing. This is a frequent reminder for me of of my tasks. Okay. So think of this as the planner. At the end of the day, before I go to bed, and as you can see here from 9 to 11, these are my goals. I'm going to latch hook, which I'm working on. I'm going to get this pillow done, kills me, wash my face, and then I'm going to plan tomorrow. Part of my planning tomorrow includes tracking. I put my food in for the next day, and then I check my list. Like I keep pointing, sorry. I check this column and I add anything that needs to be added. Okay. So I head into Trello. Here we go. I go into this. This is where we're at. And I don't know. I did this today. So we'll just check this off because I don't want to mess up my thing. I create these checklists inside of my Trello card and I check it off. And it gives me a fun little percentage, which I love. And it makes me feel good. And I can be like, oh, it's working. Now, what's interesting here, let's look at, okay, wait, here. So here's something interesting, right? So I can look at my Trello and here's how I can use it for goal auditing. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, okay. Well, it looks like I had, let's pretend that these 3 weren't checked off, right? It looks like Friday, Saturday, Sundays, I'm noticing I'm not doing these goals. I wonder why, right? Like it gives me that data of that. Like this data tells me I went camping, like I was on vacation. So like I didn't do my routine. Like that's what that tells me. But if we look at it and pretend the other way, I'm like, oh, I have a goal here. Here we go. My cleaning routine. Cleaning. All right. So I noticed that this week I missed my mopping. I did everything else. I missed the bathroom this week. Okay, well, why? I wonder why those things are happening, right? I can really go in and I can audit that way. So this to me is a type of completion journaling, right? Like it's helping me. I don't, but I could create cards here on Trello where I just go into a Trello card and I write what I'm proud and I do all those things. So I think there's so many different ways. So now that I've kind of given you a ton of ideas, what one way would you like to try for the next week, like this week? Like what one thing do you think would be the best when it comes to journaling and tracking for you?
Probably to add it to the morning where I'm already opening up my Apple Note and put some type of tracker in there.
Perfect. And what is that going to look like?
It's probably going to be the little check mark boxes with the list of the items, and then I can check them off.
Perfect. So like a nice completion. And because it's important to know, like, what is it actually going to look like when I sit down to do it? And the one other thing you did, which was great, was you tied it to a habit trigger, right? I already have this habit. It's already happening. Perfect, right? You have something that's working for you. I'm going to add to it. And you can slowly add more and more. If you want to start more traditionally journaling, if you wanted to start more planning, you can start to add those in and see, oh, it doesn't take too much time. Like my plan tomorrow takes me 5 minutes to do. Like it doesn't take that much time. But my brain in the beginning was like, oh, it felt like it was going to take so long to do all these things, but it doesn't. Definitely, since it sounds like the morning win is a good habit, you probably don't need a timer, but you might want to put some sort of visual reminder that you're doing more than just that. Like don't forget to do this. Like you can even, if you do it at your computer, like take a sticky, stick it on the, like just that reminder. Because I think a lot of times when we already have stuff that's habitual and we're adding and stacking something to it, it's easy to forget, right? Like, oh yeah, right, I already do this. Oh, I forgot I said I was also going to do this. So I would give yourself just a visual trigger, might be helpful.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions, Shay?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Thanks.
All right, awesome. And if anybody has questions on that, let me know in the chat. That was a good one. Yeah, some sort of tracking, some sort of journaling. Like, here's the thing I want to say about tracking too, is make sure if you have a habit stack, like if you're tracking a routine, don't just track, did I do the whole stack, right? If I have my evening routine, right, where I'm like, I want to wash my face and I want to brush my teeth and I want to make lunches and sweep, whatever. Say those are my 4 things. If I just write on my tracker evening routine and then I notice multiple days it's not happening, that doesn't tell me anything. It just tells me it's not getting done in completion. I would make 4 separate trackers, right?